Just a quick one again. Right, today, once again, a bit more reading. Something of a busy morning. And then, once again, I got bogged down. Oh, you're here, yeah. We finished it. Come on in. Got bogged down. I started working on the Gittier stuff. And I was looking at the cookie cutter. Come on, if you're coming up, come up. I was looking at the cookie cutter stuff, and I realised that I may not need to edit it very much, because although it puts in a load of vagrant stuff, you don't have to use it. So it's really just a question of, oh, come on, whether or not I want to keep it clean for my particular installation, or whether I just go with what was there. So, haven't really made a decision on that yet. I will play with it. It does have the advantage that I can then use that to feed into a sort of standard. Yes, I know. To fit into a standard CI/CD path. Also, anyway, so there was that. Then what else happened? Oh, then I decided to have a look and see whether or not this machine would support nested virtualization. It doesn't, but apparently DigitalOcean does, so I might investigate that. Why is that important? Well, it's not really. I mean, I can work around it. I don't really need nested virtualization, but I was just interested to see whether or not I could get as part of a pipeline, for example. It might be useful. Okay, as by way of an example, okay, if I wanted to write an automated pipeline for these virtual machines that I'm building now, it would make sense to be able to have but for most pipeline software nowadays, things like Concourse or GitLab and things like that, there are two ways of going about this. You can either have a Docker container that pulls out, and invokes via SSH or via some cloud initialization to create virtual machines which you can then run your tests against. The alternative, and that includes, for example, having workers running on host machines, which would then do the virtualization directly. I mean, I can't do that with a Mac because Macs always, the Docker containers are always, do you mind? The Docker containers are always running inside a virtual machine, hence the problem. So if the Docker is running inside a virtual machine, you would then be in a nested virtual machine situation if you wanted to create a virtual machine inside that Docker process. So you're back then to having to have it created remotely. So there are several options, several solutions. The simplest one is to simply say, oh, we'll just use a cloud system. So when I want to test a virtual machine, I'll test it in the cloud, which of course I can do because, do you mind? I can do because my configuration is largely not concerned with whether it's running on Vagrant or not. Anyway, all of that basically explains why I was messing around with nested virtualization. Turns out I can turn nested virtualization on, but because this processor doesn't support, I forget now, there's some 4-letter acronym. It's basically it's something rather shadowing. It's a technology that came out several years after the processor in these things. So net result is yes, you can turn virtualization, nested virtualization on, but the performance is so bad, you might as well not bother. So there's that. I mean, obviously, if I bought more updated hardware, then it would be a problem that would go away. So when I am looking into buying new servers, that's one of the features on the processors that I will certainly be looking for, because then you can run things like, run a Proxmox. You run a virtual machine in the Proxmox, and then treat that as a virtualization platform as well. So you've got nested virtualization, and it should work fine as long as you've got all the relevant technology. None of the machines I've got here are new enough. Oh, actually, I suppose the little NUC servers might. I'll have to check. Anyway, so there's that. Then I got back to setting up the Gittia project. Now, setting up the project itself is neither here nor there. But what I also wanted to do was instantiate my personal configuration. And when I started doing that, I ran into some issues. Principally, okay, one of the main issues I ran into was I'm building NVim from source, okay, and then I'm using a plugin called Mason to manage the installation of various external tools, language servers specifically. And because of the way my configuration is set up, I need to install Python language server, Bash language server, a Lua language server, YAML, JSON, various others to support my NVim configuration, which is fine. I mean, that's neither in nor there. The problem was that what I hadn't done is install NPM for managing Node package management. So I thought, well, okay, that's no problem. I'll install the NPM package, which I did. But the Debian version of Node that then installs is like version 12, because Debian, if you didn't know, is pretty slow getting updates. So I thought, well, okay, what I'll do is in my personal configuration bootstrap script, I will add in the installation for NVim, which I will then use to install the latest stable version of Node for the local user. Great, that works fine. Apart from my script, I'm in the habit of running it with certain features, like, for example, set -u. So undefined variables in my scripts will cause an error. Now, NVim, part of its setup is an NVM shell script. And when you run that NVM shell script, you end up with undeclared variables. And so my script was shitting itself as a sort of second layer. So the solution was either to run all the NVM stuff in a subshell, which would then be isolated from my settings, or, and this is the solution I came up with, or I decided to go with, I simply do a set +u and a set -u bracketed around the NVM stuff in my script. That worked fine. So that's the way I've gone with it, because it's like, low-hanging fruit. The next problem I've got is running NVim headless to install all the plugins. Well, having solved all these various problems, that now works, or seems to work, fine. But Mason is a different kettle of fish, because Mason seems to run independent of the rest of the plugin setup. Again, okay, fine. The problem is Mason runs in parallel, separately, asynchronously with the Packer install. So although the Packer install correctly runs through headlessly and then emits an event, which then causes NVim to close down from the headless state. But Mason hasn't finished installing all of the language servers. So the first time you then open up the NVim, it says, "Oh, I'm going to install the rest of these things." And again, this is a minor irritation. It's not the end of the world. But there doesn't seem to be any way of running Mason. You can't do a Mason install, for example, and have it install whatever your current configuration says. You can only do Mason install and the name of a tool. Well, the way the configuration is done through the Lua script, that's a non-trivial exercise, because a lot of these language servers, you have the language server, that's not the name of the server in the array in the config, so you end up, how do I decide, what tools need to be installed and stuff? Okay, I can't be asked. I'll just live with it the way it is. I might one day go and look at doing a pull request to Mason, so I can just do a Mason install. I mean, there are various potential solutions. None of them are ideal for what I want to do. All I want to do basically is have Mason finish doing all of the installation of the language servers and so on from the Lua configuration, then emit an event, because then I can modify the headless state to run that command, wait for the event, and then shut everything down. However, I can't do that at the moment. I can't be bothered to work out how to do it. So there was that. So that was pretty much my day so far. A lot of wasted time. Well, not wasted, because it's an investment of time. Because I'll find out a few little wrinkles and a few little niggles from my personal configuration. So hopefully it's now all working as it should. In fact, it is literally just finished installing. So let's have a look. Oops, I want to do that. Right, let's have a look and see what we've got. You'll see what I mean in a second. Okay, so this, in theory, this is how the headless run. So the basic Packer install should have been done. It should Packer sync. Okay, so if I do Vine now, what I should see is I should see just the Mason stuff run. If it runs true to course, you see, this is fucking random. This was working fine a minute ago. Having said that, I did run this. I did run the command. See, there's a setup command. Okay, and in here, I ran this a couple of times. It should run fine. You see, this wasn't happening a second ago. Now it's saying everything's up to date. Now it's behaving itself. Config which? Please check. Well, I suppose what might have happened is I might have ended with a Packer compile in my because I excluded the directory. I might have ended up with a compiled Packer, I suppose, in my repository. And this is what I'm talking about, right? This bullshit. It disappears and it finishes too soon. Oops. So this, okay, so that's all fine. But now, what it's doing now in the background is it's doing this. It's installing the actual tools. But these are not real tools. I mean, it's giving the names here as like JSON LS and so on, but they're just the names of the entries in the server array. They're not actually the tool. You sort of go. Okay, so you can see here it's now. Bing. Okay, so it's all done now. So everything will work now. Yeah, I know. So everything's fine. And if I run that headless command again, it'll run through fine. There you go, no problem at all. So very, very weird. I don't particularly want to run it multiple times without actually working out what's going wrong. So, yeah, going back up here, you can see error in Packer compiled. Yeah, it's not finding most of the modules because what it looks to me like the first time it ran, it failed somewhere along the line. Okay, so it hadn't finished doing all of the installations, and then you run it the second time, and it says, "Oh, hang on a minute, I've compiled the Packer install." Which is what the Packer sync does, because it should do the install and then the compile. I don't know. Doesn't make any sense. Anyway, we are where we are. I'll have to have a play with it some more. I thought I'd figured it out, but I think it's because I ran the NVim headless 2 or 3 times before, and that seems to resolve the problem. Well, that's hardly a satisfactory solution. Weird. Yeah, there's something not quite right. Anyway, we're now inside the machine. These downloads can actually go now, can't they? This was just to download Webby, I think. Oops. Okay, that's just for the installation of Z oxide or Zoxide or whatever. I suppose I ought to clean that up as part of the script. So in actual fact, if I do this is what I was talking about. This bullshit with set minus u. Also so that this NVM doesn't cause the script to fail. Now then, what have we got here? Right, when it does the install of Z oxide here, okay, it uses that web install. So this should do. Actually, have I not? That's rather untidy of me. Maybe I should do this properly and put a proper cleanup in there. Yeah, what I really ought to do is put this into a cleanup, but we're going to do -t. Mm, yeah. Oh, come on, Mark. Where is it? Seven. Yeah. There we go. Installed. Interesting. Why is shell check not being installed? Mm. 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 And that should be loading that, isn't it? So it should be loading personal core. Um, those roles. Hmm. I'll sort it out tomorrow. Right. Yep, that's a job for tomorrow. It should have installed the role bash dev, which um, uh, base provisioning sort role. Uh, Interesting. Mm. Should have installed that package shell. Well, why didn't it? Mm. Oh, oh, I can never. Mm. Mm-hmm. Maybe use the sort util, sorry, SLS util. Render it. SLS util render slash util slash. Actually, putting this, why is it under personal and project? Okay. It's got MB config in there. Dot. Right, right, so we've got the role Python dev in there, and it's going to install Python. And I'll notice here that common packages doesn't have spell check in it. There's your problem. It's rendering out states but not roles. Which is exactly what it says to do. Was like, my brains are leaking out of my head. Why isn't it? I mean, those roles are kind of important. Yes. Yeah, you see that. should have been included in the pillars. I bet my pillars are not being rendered properly. This is what happens when you screw around with shit. You see, that includes the external pillar stack, which includes the configuration. The problem is I haven't got the ordinary I haven't got the regular. That's the problem. This is crazy. Absolutely crazy. What on earth is my brain doing? That job for tomorrow.